Are you struggling to cope with unexpected emotions or triggers related to your birth experience? In this episode of the Golden Hour Birth Podcast, we share valuable insights and strategies from Module 5 of our upcoming course, Reclaim Your Birth Story. Join us as we explore effective coping strategies, powerful healing exercises, and the importance of seeking professional support. Discover practical tips on navigating emotional triggers, practicing self-care, and creating a supportive network. Whether you're processing your own birth story or supporting a loved one, this episode offers a compassionate perspective on prioritizing emotional well-being and resilience. Tune in to learn valuable tools for reclaiming your birth story and finding peace in the face of challenging experiences. Don't miss this opportunity to gain a sneak peek into our content of our upcoming course. Embrace the power of emotional healing and join the conversation on this episode of the Golden Hour Birth Podcast. The Golden Hour Birth Podcast, a podcast about real birth stories and creating connections through our shared experiences. Childbirth isn't just about the child. It's about the person who gave birth, their lives, their wisdom, and their empowerment. We're Liz
and Natalie,
the Golden Hour Birth Podcast, and we're here to laugh with you,
cry with you,
and hold space for you. Welcome to the Golden Hour Birth Podcast. I am your co-host, Liz.
And I'm your co-host, Natalie. Today, we're going to be diving into a little bit of Module 5 on our upcoming course, Reclaiming Your Birth Story, Finding Peace and Healing.
And in this module, we are focusing on the emotional healing techniques that we talk about in our course. So we understand that, processing your birth story can be challenging and emotional. And that's why we have, this whole module providing with coping techniques, healing exercises, and resources for deeper healing.
We just want to emphasize that your emotional well-being is a top priority for us. And that's why we include a lot of tools and techniques and support that are available to you along the way. Let's start a little bit by discussing the first topic in Module 5, which are coping strategies for emotional triggers.
Emotional triggers related to your birth story can come up unexpectedly and be pretty distressing, especially when you're in the middle of, a happy celebration or even just in the middle of the grocery store and something comes up. And these triggers can kind of be anything, from certain images or being in a medical setting, specific words, or seeing someone with a newborn baby, it's just kind of anything, anniversaries. So when you're triggered, you can experience any, type of intense feeling, anxiety, sadness, anger, fear. There's so many.
Having coping strategies in place is super important. These strategies just help you help you to feel more empowered to manage and navigate these triggers effectively. Some coping strategies can include recognizing your triggers. So again, like Liz said, an anniversary or being in a medical setting, practicing self-care. And that's can be a variety of different things. Like for instance, Liz got her hair done this week. That was a big form of self-care for her. Creating a supportive network and setting boundaries.
So recognizing your triggers is the first step. So when you kind of take a moment to identify the situations, images, conversations that tend to activate these kind of responses, take note of that. You could, write it down in your journal or make a note in your phone, which is where all my notes are. So self-awareness allows you to anticipate and then prepare for potential triggers and know when to avoid certain situations. Or, that comes up in therapy when you need to talk about this trigger made me feel like this. And then your therapist or counselor can help you figure out kind of how to get away from that response.
Mm-hmm. Practicing self-care is also another crucial coping strategy. and engaging in activities that can bring you comfort and promote relaxation. Again, getting your hair done. Mine is getting nails done or a massage when I have the money. Some other forms of self-care are just taking walks in nature. I know like walking has helped me just kind of like formulate better thoughts. Practicing yoga or meditation is a big one, indulging in hobbies, spending time with loved ones. And, the list goes on. These can really just be what kind of fuels your soul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about self-care lately and how it means something different to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it can also change and evolve over time. Really depending on kind of what stage of parenthood you're in or what mindset you're in. I know like when I had a newborn, just taking a shower alone was self-care.
Yes.
So it could be something so simple as that. Now that I'm a little bit more like my kids can sit and watch TV while I take a shower. So it's not like something that is that hard to do anymore.
Yeah.
Lately, you know, I've been thinking like, what is my self-care? What fills my cup? And so for me lately, that's been like building my relationships. So I'm trying to be a little bit more intentional about my self-care. Um, so building relationships for me, that means like being more vulnerable, planning more outings with friends, new friends, old friends, planning happy hours with friends. So yeah, I've just been trying to be a little bit more intentional with my self-care. I have an hour or two of alone time. Like, what am I going to spend that time on instead of just like, doing housework or yeah, kind of, I don't know. But also rest is very important too. So that is self-care as well. So there are times, probably after we record this podcast, I'll probably go take a nap while the kids are playing. So yeah,
I just woke up from a nap.
Sweet. What, what kind of self-care have you been into, Natalie?
Yeah, for a while, I've always just like loved having my nails done or massages, which I know can probably be like labeled under pampering. I do like where you're saying like really building relationships. I've really been focusing on like pouring water and nourishing my relationships. Like watering is like what I keep referring back to. Like it's a flower and I have to like let it grow and give it sunlight. And so there's like some certain relationships in my life that I'm really focusing on and watering. And I told my therapist that she's like, oh, I love that. Way to make that up. So that's where I'm at.
I love talking to my therapist about these things too.
Yeah.
So yeah. And another thing, like we just talked about, fostering relationships and creating that support network is also just, so essential. Seeking understanding and validation from your trusted people. It's just so important to have relationships because they can provide the emotional support when these triggers do arise. If something happens while you're out, you have someone to call or just someone to vent to after. So that can be like friends, family members, but also support groups, therapists, which we love. So, people who are supposed to be compassionate and kind of non-judgmental and, always prefacing if you're talking to your husband or a friend, like, hey, I'm just venting. I don't want advice right now. Or I do want advice. Like, what would you do in this situation or something like that? So,
yeah. Yeah. I've definitely come to a point where I'm like, someone's venting to me. I'm like, okay, like, do you want advice right now or do you just want me to listen? Because sometimes I'm like the first one to like jump into advice. And then I'm like, maybe I don't want that. So I've kind of started to do that thing where I'm like realizing either I could be helpful or I can just be helpful in shutting my mouth.
Yeah.
So lastly here, setting boundaries is key. Kind of just establishing those limits on conversations or environments that can be triggering can just really help you, can just really help your well-being as well as your emotional and mental state. it's okay to decline or redirect conversations because knowing like those can be a big trigger, or just removing yourself from the triggering situations when necessary. Even for like my son Wes, and like he knows his like whole thing is like, or walk away now. Like when he gets a little too wound up or something, or like gets mad at daycare, he's like, or just walk away. And I feel like, yes, exactly.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I know like in one of my triggers, it's so silly too. And it's not silly, but when I'm doing bath time alone or something and um the kids are splashing and the bathroom's all wet
Yes.
and I get wet.
Yes.
I absolutely hate it. And it triggers something in me and I don't know what it is from, but it just like I just don't like being wet. I
I
just
hate it
don't like cleaning
too.
up. So like
I hate it when
late
the bathroom
you
floor is soaked.
oh my God, it's terrible. Well, yeah, lately I've just been like skipping bath time if I'm alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's at work. So yeah,
Good.
that's my boundary.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then we have our second topic in module 5, which is healing exercises and mindfulness practices. So these techniques that we talk about, we talk about these more in depth in our course, obviously, but they're to provide, an opportunity to reconnect with yourself and cultivate inner peace. So knowing those triggers and then coming up with solutions to avoid or, just deal with the triggers. But
Yeah.
yeah, so there are a couple techniques that we have.
One powerful healing exercise can be journaling, writing down your thoughts and emotions related to your birth experience, or just even like a trigger or a moment you had can be so cathartic and healing. It just allows you to like release that pent up emotions, gain clarity, and track your progress over time. I did like a 30 days of gratitude journaling when I was pregnant one time, and it was actually very healing.
Yeah, I love that about tracking your progress over time because you can read back on old journal entries and see, wow, like I was either in a like better headspace then, like what was I doing, or I was in a worse headspace, like look at my progress.
Yeah.
Yeah. And meditation is another practice that can be valuable. Mindfulness meditation involves focusing your attention on the present moment and without judgment. So through meditation, you can cultivate self-compassion, acceptance, and a sense of calm. I have like a whole playlist of meditations that one of my what do you call it? Life coaches that we had through work helped me find like a good playlist. So incorporating affirmations and mantras during the meditation practice can also reinforce positive beliefs and healing intentions, which in our course, we do incorporate a lot of mindfulness meditations throughout each module.
Yes. So visualization is also a helpful technique. Guided visualization can just like help in assisting and releasing emotional pain and fostering your healing. If you like can visualize yourself in a safe and comforting environment, or imagine like healing energy flowing through your body, those can just like be really comforting and just help you kind of just, visualize like what could be happening and the positives of that.
Mm-hmm. Another one that is really powerful that I use this often is breath work. Intentional breathing exercises. I use these for when I'm having trouble settling my mind, going to bed, when I'm trying to settle myself after kind of a blow up with the kids or something like that. So it's like deep belly breathing or alternate nostril breathing. It can help calm your nervous system, reduce anxiety, release tension. Sometimes I try to do it every morning. There's even an app that I had like a free trial to that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But one of my favorites is called box breathing, where you breathe in 4 counts, hold it 4 counts, breathe out 4 counts, hold it 4 counts and you just keep doing that, through a couple cycles. But it's very, very grounding and relaxing.
Yeah, I love that. Let's take a moment to practice a short guided breathwork exercise together. So if you can, find a comfortable position, close your eyes, and place one hand on your chest and the other on your belly. Inhale deeply through your nose, feeling your belly expand like a balloon. Hold your breath for a count of 3. Now exhale slowly through your mouth, feeling your belly contract. Continue this pattern, inhaling deeply and exhaling slowly. With each breath, imagine any tension or stress leaving your body. Inhale peace and relaxation. Exhale any worries or fears. Take a few more deep breaths at your own pace, savoring the sensation of calm and ease. When you're ready, gently open your eyes.
Engaging in these healing exercises and mindfulness practices regularly can support your, healing journey. You could set aside 5 minutes in the morning if you have that, or 5 minutes right before bed. But yeah, they can provide a space for kind of self-reflection, processing emotions, and fostering that sense of inner peace and resilience.
So let's show you a little bit about the third topic in Module 5, which is seeking professional help and resources. Sometimes deeper healing definitely does require that professional guidance and support.
Mm-hmm. While self-care practices and support networks are valuable, there may come a point where seeking professional help becomes necessary for deeper healing. And I'm a huge advocate for kind of everybody could find use for therapists, counselors. There's even specialists that focus on birth trauma. So they're trained in supporting people through, the emotional healing process. There's also different types of therapy that can be helpful. I was just actually talking with a friend last night about somatic therapy and uh,
EMDR.
EMDR. Is that right?
Yeah.
So, 2 types that I'm just like very intrigued about that I'm going to do some research and learn more about. I guess it's different than talk therapy, which sounds pretty nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me know if you need any help with those. I just like working at the mental health space I learned a lot about those, which is really cool. One option is individual therapy, like Liz was just saying, or group therapy sessions specifically tailored to birth trauma. I was actually going to join like a group therapy after Violet was born, just like have more support. But there's just, like therapists are doing so many cool things. So just, a good idea to look into. So a lot of these sessions can just provide a safe and supportive space to just explore and process your emotions. Therapists are just wonderful in guiding you through these techniques and interventions that can just promote that extra healing, emotional regulation, and resilience.
And there's also group sessions that aren't necessarily therapy. They're just like a group of moms getting together. I know Allie with Survive and Thrive has a specific group that she kind of guides through that. Was it 6 months?
Yeah, it's like 4 to 6 months.
4 to 6 months. So kind of that time where people kind of stop checking in on you. Your babies, you're technically out of that 4th trimester. So I think that's really cool that she has that support group for moms who maybe not even had a difficult, birth or birth trauma. It's just moms who want to get together and, get through that time period together.
Yeah.
So it's important to seek professionals who are knowledgeable about trauma also. So if you did go through, a traumatic experience during your birth or postpartum, trauma-informed care is very important. in that it acknowledges the impact of the trauma on the well-being and emphasizes compassion, safety is a big one, and empowerment in the healing process.
So like I was kind of just talking about, like joining support groups and specifically for birth trauma survivors can just offer a deeper sense of community validation and shared experiences. These groups can just provide a way to connect with other moms who have gone through similar challenges and just can offer more valuable insights and support.
So if you are going to seek professional help, just take some time to research and identify professionals, therapists who specialize in kind of what you're looking for. Reading reviews, asking for recommendations, especially from friends and people in your community. And then trusting your instincts to finding the right fit for your needs is huge, because I've gone through, I say gone through, but I've had 4 therapists who, I've connected with in different ways, but not always what I needed at that moment. So I have a great therapist now that I like. It took me a bit to get there. So trusting your instincts. If it's not the right fit, don't feel bad about like breaking up with them.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Seeking professional help is really just a sign of strength and self-care. It is not a sign of anything negative. Like, obviously, Liz and I have talked about therapy and how much it's helped us. So like breaking that stigma, which I feel like we have at this day and age, and it's not like, oh, be quiet about seeking therapy. It can really just demonstrate your commitment to your healing journey. And it just allows you to access the resources and expertise needed to support your emotional well-being because of, how much like you can talk through. And again, like that unbiased opinion can just help you get to like where you want to be and not be holding on to all of this extra baggage that can just kind of come up at a moment's notice.
Yeah. Yeah. We definitely encourage you to take a moment, even right after this episode, while it's still fresh on your mind, to research, identify professionals, therapists, support groups. If you need any guidance, reach out to us, because we have a big network of people who can help in different cities, different areas of, life that you're in. So just, consider taking that initiative, schedule an appointment, or even just reaching out for more information.
Yeah. So to summarize, the key takeaways for Module 5 are: 1, develop coping strategies to navigate emotional triggers related to your birth story. 2, practice healing exercises and mindfulness techniques for emotional release and inner peace. And 3, seek professional help and utilize available resources for deeper healing.
Yes. And again, during our course, which is coming out soon, we go deeper into all of these. We, go through coping strategies. We have worksheets, we have journals that help, get through these techniques, and just a place for you to track your progress as well. So we hope that this episode has provided you with a few valuable insights and tools for your journey. Just keep watching this space. Find us on Instagram. Join our mailing list if you want to keep, your eye on when the course is going to come out. And then just remember to continue practicing self-care, seeking support, prioritizing your well-being.
Awesome. We will see you next episode.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Golden Hour Birth Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed our discussion and found it insightful and beneficial. Remember, the Golden Hour Birth Podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you. If you appreciate the content we bring you each week, consider leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform or sharing the show with your friends and family. Your support helps us reach more people and continue creating valuable episodes. If you have any questions, suggestions, or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, We'd love to hear from you. You can reach us on our website, www.goldenhourbirthpodcast, or connect with us on social media. We value your feedback and want to make sure that we're delivering the content you want to hear. Before we sign off, we'd like to express our gratitude to our incredible guests who joined us today. We are honored that they trust us enough to be so open and vulnerable. We're grateful for their time and willingness to share their stories with us. If you're interested in taking the conversation further with us, join us on our Facebook group, The Golden Hour Birth Circle. We'll be back next week with another exciting episode, so be sure to tune in. Until then, stay golden and remember to take care of yourself. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Golden Hour Birth Podcast. Bye!